question is Bitcoin going to come down to the bull market support band? We have an A, B, C back down to the bull market support band, or is the current correction sufficient enough? Because if you look at the altcoins like Total 2, Total 3, and others, basically the broader altcoin market, we created this flat structure. We have an A, we come up for B, and we came all the way down for C, and we tested and we wicked off beautifully off the bull market support band. Maybe we get another test, maybe not, but at the end of the day, that's what we've been talking about for several weeks, and that's what occurred. The problem is we see Bitcoin hasn't yet done it yet. So who's telling the story? Well, check this out. Bitcoin doesn't need to come down to test the bull market support band, because if you look at last cycle, it only came down to test it once before ripping to the upside. But if you want a longer bull market, long-term sustainability, then you're going to want to continue to test it. For example, look at the previous cycle. Back in 2017, we broke above, we tested it, we broke above, we tested it, we created this running flat, we came down, we tested it. Then we had a big breakout. This is where I believe we are now, and I'm going to show you a fractal, and it's going to be really interesting. Just watch this. But anyway, we had this test here. We came up again. We had another big breakout. We came back down and tested it again, and then we continued pumping to the upside. But if you look, when we went into this parabolic phase, we didn't get to test it. So same thing like right here. We were going too quickly, too fast. We didn't test it. We collapsed. Same thing over here. We went too quickly, too fast, and we collapsed. So the thing is, I still believe there's going to be much more upside. The big question is, if we test it, then we'll probably get more long-term sustainability. If we don't test it, that still doesn't mean we can't have a big alt season, but because I still see this thing continuing higher. The difference is it would probably be at that ending parabolic phase, sort of that fifth wave ending top, which could last a little while. But once we get into that distribution, then the rotation occurs into the altcoins, and you see some very interesting things happen over there. I mean, look how massive this wave is, and it didn't get to test it at all in here. So we could still have all of this potential in here. But what I want to show you is this right here. So check this out. I want you to focus on this wave right here, and I want you to focus on this wave right here. Now watch this. By the way, this is an expanding flat, and this is an ABC. And I want you to compare those two waves to this wave right here and to this wave right here. This is a running flat, and this was an ABC, and it happened in the same sequence as we are seeing now. But wait, I'm going to show you the fractal of it. So I'm going to take an overlay. Check this out. So if you look at the current price, and then you look at the fractal, and you take it and you overlay it, look at this. The first area, right, was this flat pattern back over here, right? Which, by the way, did test the bull market support band, but the current price did not. Then, if you look at the current price, we're creating this ABC. But if you look at the fractal, we also created an ABC. So both fractals, both waves are in the same sequence, which is pretty interesting to see in this cycle. So if I just put it like this, back and forth, you can kind of see where we're at. So there is a potential still we can come right back down to the bull market support band. I don't know if we're going to quite tag it, considering the fact that if you look at Total 3 and Total 2 and others, all the altcoins hit it. A lot of the altcoins lost their bull market support band, but the main thing we want to see is Bitcoin being above its bull market support band. So long as Bitcoin is above it, we are continuing the bull cycle. So for me, this is a bullish correction. The question is it finished? Well, when I try to overlay this fractal as best as I can, it's not too perfect. I mean, it really looks really good. But at the end of the day, I think maybe we might have a little bit more to dump. Maybe not. That's the thing. But the point is, does it really matter? This is not financial advice. Remember that. But for me, this is a prime opportunity to dollar cost average into altcoins. And, you know, because if you look at them, again, we are back down to where we need to be. So this is a good DCA area, not financial advice, but the point I really want to bring up is if Bitcoin did decide to come all the way down, would the alts lose their bull market support band? Well, just take XRP for example. You could see XRP is starting to recover, right? You can see these two green candles were starting to go up. But if you look at Bitcoin, it's starting to go down. So this is a really good sign for altcoins. Look at Theta. We had a beautiful ABC correction, a 55% dump all the way back down to the bull market support band. If you've been following my channel, that's why I highly recommend you subscribe. You would have known that this is the main idea. This is the big probability. We did so over here. We did so over here. When we got back up here, we started creating bearish divergence. I said, look out, we're probably coming back down. Basically, you take this whole wave and you just cut it in half or thereabouts, and that's usually where we go, a 618 retracement, 50% retracement. But you don't have to guess. You can just look at the bull market support band. So that's, where we came, and it happened very quickly, which is a good thing. We got it over with. But if you look at Theta Fuel, I've been saying this looks interesting, and we haven't even tested it yet. I mean, Theta Fuel is so bullish, right, that it hasn't even tested it. Now, granted, Theta did outperform Theta Fuel, but the important thing is what is going to happen to the altcoins if Bitcoin needs to come all the way back down to the bull market support band. Well, so far, Bitcoin is going down right now. It's kind of sliding off support. It is creating some bullish divergence on the smaller time frames, but look at XRP versus Bitcoin. You can see this thing is ripping at the moment. Let's see here. We talked about this ending phase here, could potentially be Wyckoff. It turns out it was the second idea, which is a fourth wave. Basically, the invalidation, right? We're looking at this as the spring. We came back up, but then it got invalidated off that liquidation event. But that's fine. That's actually a good thing because now we know that this was a fourth wave and we just ended and created a fifth wave. Not only that, we created massive bullish divergence. And not only that, look at the price. It's pumping. It is currently up 17, almost 18%, not against the dollar, against Bitcoin. That's a big deal. So what does this have to do with anything? Well, again, if you look at Bitcoin, and I'll just slide this fractal over a little bit, you can see if the price of Bitcoin decided, maybe has a little bounce and then it comes back down to test it, maybe it wicks off of it like over here, then we can be kind of rest assured that the altcoins, right? Because when you look at the altcoins, we're already on the bull market support band. So we don't want to lose it. But if Bitcoin comes down to test it, we could have that risk to lose it. But if you look at charts like Theta and XRP and even different alts out there, they are currently outperforming Bitcoin. The reason why is because they got hit much, much harder. They lost their support. So here was the support here, right? They lost it and they came all the way back down. Bitcoin didn't, right? It held on by a thread, but now it's starting to slide. But the thing is, the concern was, well, if Bitcoin comes down, then we can lose the bull market support band in the altcoins. But that's kind of looking like that's not going to happen. So this is actually a very good situation. Because if you look at XRP versus USD, yes, we did lose the bull market support band, but we haven't been trending. We've been consolidating in reaccumulation. And the whole idea for this was a diagonal, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have an A, we have a complex B, and now we're coming down for C. We take out that liquidity right over here before taking it to the moon. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. All I'm saying is that's what happened the last time. Check this out. So you could see the price in reaccumulation, just like we're in now. We're sort of going above it, below it, above it, below it. But look at this. We have our support here, just like, what we're doing now. But look at this. We came down, we broke below, and we grabbed that liquidity, right? We took out all of this resistance, right? We grabbed that liquidity, just like what we're doing now. So you could see here's our support line right here, right? We broke below, we grabbed that liquidity, And then look what happens afterwards. You can see as soon as we lost it, we grabbed that liquidity down here. We just went insane. The whole point of it, right, for me is the altcoins. The whole point of the altcoins is finding which ones have the most potential. For me, I have a select few that I like, but XRP is right at the top spot at the moment because for most people, it is the most awful looking chart. But for me, it is the most beautiful looking chart. It has been disappointing, yes, but at the end of the day, it is doing what it needs to do to complete what it needs to complete. For example, we have a rise, we have a rise, we have a crash, we have a crash, we have a retracement, we have a retracement. We go down into reaccumulation. We go down into reaccumulation. Then we go sideways. Then we go sideways. Then if you look real closely, we broke that support line, we grabbed that liquidity. If you look real closely, we broke that support band, we grabbed that liquidity. What happens next? What happens next? I'm not saying it's going to happen today. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow or even next week. Maybe it might not even happen for several months. But the point is, it's looking really primed for something interesting to happen. The only thing holding us back right now is Bitcoin really want to test that bull market support band, then continue breaking the all-time high. The whole thing is, once Bitcoin really gets started here, I'm of the opinion, right, not financial advice, but as soon as this correction is finished, we're going to see the altcoins really start to make their moves. Now, if Bitcoin, depending how much longer Bitcoin has in the cycle, right? I mean, if you look at this fractal, let's say it continued to follow it. Now, statistically, the probability of it continuing to follow through these waves gets diminished as you start to make your way up. But the thing is, where does this fractal end at? It ends at approximately $240,000. Guys, I don't think that's insane. I mean, if it hit 240, I wouldn't even know what to think. Right? I think between 100, between 80, 90, and that 100K, think about the psychological round number $100,000. You got to know that the guys who've been buying way back in the day, the OG Bitcoin guys, that's the number they've been waiting for the last decade, right? So you have to think that there's going to be some tremendous selling pressure at that 100K area. Obviously, it can be oversaturated, right, with, inflows rather than outflows from the ETFs and from people just exuberant, right, from the news and to the FOMO. So we could see up to 125, maybe 150. But to get to 225, hey, I'm not expecting it, but if it happened, it wouldn't surprise me. But actually, it would kind of, because I would be pleasantly surprised. It's better to have your expectations in a conservative zone instead of thinking it's going to hit the moon, because if it doesn't, then you have more resentment. If you expect something small and get something big, it's more psychologically healthy, so that when you continue, you're charting and you're looking at prices, figuring out where they're trying to go, then at that point, you can have more confidence and more reasonable expectations. Remember, as Bitcoin continues its cycles, you get diminishing returns. That's why I don't care about Bitcoin. Now, I think Bitcoin's going to be around forever. I think Bitcoin's going to go and continue to climb. But the thing is, where the real percentage value lies is in the altcoins. Now, if you look at the Bitcoin dominance, right, and you could say, well, that's, Bitcoin's been the coin you want to be in. Yes, that's true, but it's not about being in it at the present moment. It's about positioning yourself before that moment comes so that you're ready. So for me, I think, yes, Bitcoin's still going to do well. Bitcoin dominance might even continue to rise. But at the end of the day, when we get into that either distribution moment or that last phase of the market, that's when the altcoins really, really get wild. Because if you look at them, like, for example, the price of Theta, and this is another one right at my top spot alongside XRP. We had a beautiful wave one a wave 2, and now we're starting to work our way into the retracement levels. We haven't even gotten into the retracement levels yet. So probably we would find some resistance up here, but as long as Bitcoin keeps chugging along, that's why it's kind of important that Bitcoin does test the bull market support band so that it can buy more time for these altcoins to work their way through these resistance. But the thing is, once Theta and a lot of these altcoins break their all-time high, or even they don't even have to break their all-time high for percentage gains. Let me show you an example. Right now, Theta is working its way into the retracement levels. Back in October, when we were all the way down at 64 cents, I've been talking about the price, being in Wyckoff, the price bottoming out, and the price eventually working its way into its retracements. You can go back and check out those videos. But the thing is, if we get to the 618 retracement, which is a normal zone, then that means from where it is right now, that's approximately, let's see what it is. That's approximately between 300 and 400%. So we'll just say 350. That's 350% just to get to the retracement levels. Now, if we do the same thing with XRP, right, which is the 618 to the 50%, that's approximately 235 up to 300%. Compare that to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is way above the 618. It's already back at, the all-time highs. So we'll just say, okay, the average price was about 300 to 400%. So we'll say 350%. So let's see if from where we are now and I go up 350%, where does that take Bitcoin? Well, let's see. Well, now we're above the 4.236. I mean, we're sitting at 240,000. I mean, just to get to 100,000, right? That's only 65%. That's nothing. That's peanuts, right? If we get back up to the 2618 at $150,000, $150,000 Bitcoin, that's only 150%. If you get back to $250,000, now you're finally at 300%. But wait, we're at 350%. So we would have to get to $280,000 just to get 350%. Now, that is only the beginning for Theta, right? That is only the beginning for XRP. That's only getting to the 618. We're not even talking about the all-time highs. So again, that's 350% just to get to the retracement levels. Okay, so now let's do this. We'll put the Fibonacci back on the screen and we'll go all the way back down. Okay, so now where's a reasonable target? We'll just say a conservative target of the 2. We'll say the 2 right here at $30, $30 Theta, right? So what percentage value would that be for the price of Theta? So let me put this line right here. That's at the 2, and then we'll go all the way up to the 4.236, right about there. And then we'll get rid of this, and now that is the potential, right, for Theta, in between that box, right? So remember, Bitcoin takes, to get to the 4.236 is about 280% or so. Okay, so 280% to the 4.236, but we're only going to the 2, right? So let's just talk, well, first let's talk about the all-time high. To get back to the all-time high, that's almost 700% just to the all-time high, right? Now, if we continue going up to the 2, that's a reasonable target. Come on, it's a $30 target. The all-time high of Theta was about $15. All we're talking here is a 2x from the all-time high, very easily obtainable. That would be about 1,400%, maybe 1,500%. Okay, now let's say we had a grand finale and we hit the 4.236 extension. That's 3,000%. I'm not saying it's going to get that high. I'm not saying that. I'm saying those are the levels. I would say between $30 and $60 is probably where it would cycle top out at. Could it go higher? Yes. Can it go lower than $30? I don't think so. But the big problem is, right, we got to get through our retracement levels. And the way we can do that is by Bitcoin getting into its extension levels. So 280% to get to a 4.236 extension. If you held theta, all you need to get to is approximately about $8. So what do you think's more reasonable? Bitcoin hitting nearly $250,000 or theta simply going to $8 when the all-time high of theta was about $15. So that's what I'm saying. That's just one example. That's one example. So for XRP, right, 280% from where it is now will go up 280%. That brings us to about almost $2, $1.93. So, you have to ask yourself, what's more likely, XRP hitting $1.93 or Bitcoin hitting $250,000 when you have all of these Bitcoin whales who have been holding for the last decade, wanting to, take their profits, right? I mean, think about all the people who bought Bitcoin at $200, $300, $10, right? If we hit 100K Bitcoin, don't you think they're going to sell it? I mean, they've made tremendous amounts of money. So for me, Bitcoin doesn't have the percentage potential reward that I'm looking for. I'm looking for something, life-changing, hopefully, maybe not. So we'll see how that plays. But for me, Bitcoin would have to break above its all-time high, go all the way to the 4.236 extension just to have the same reward as theta simply getting to $8, not even the 50% 618 of its retracement level, let alone breaking above the all-time high. So people can talk about Bitcoin dominance and saying, oh, it's better to be, but yes, I agree. At the moment, the last several months, right? I mean, really through the whole bear market leading into now, that's true. You kind of wanted to be, protect your Satoshi value, as they would say. But there comes a point where you have to make the decision. Do I want to start transitioning from my Bitcoin into these altcoins? When should I start to do that? And for me, I'm thinking not financial advice, but it's starting to become that time, because if you look at Bitcoin dominance, we can start to see some major weekly bearish divergence on the chart here on theta, or I'm sorry, on Bitcoin dominance. So that is a big deal, right? We also have 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, and then we have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it looks like we're getting into that fifth wave. Maybe we have a little bit higher to go. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we come up here and take out this liquidity above 63%, right? But if you look at this whole wave here, and I take it from here all the way down, we're at that 50% line now. So, and look at that, the 702 lines up exactly where this liquidity rests above. So it wouldn't surprise me, we're sitting at 55%. It wouldn't surprise me we get to 60 to 65. But the thing is, do I really want to risk all that percentage potential? Because, I mean, if you look at Solana, for example, look how massively it exploded back into its retracement levels. Now, the altcoins, their turn could be coming around any moment, right? Maybe it takes another couple of weeks. But the whole point is, not financial advice, but slowly, just as you would DCA into the market, right? Basically, the best way to do it in a bear market is obviously be in Bitcoin, right? But then as you start to accumulate, you want to mostly accumulate Bitcoin, right? And then as you start to make your way up into the retracement levels, Bitcoin dominance is still going higher. But once Bitcoin breaks out of its all-time high and really sets sail, that's when you want to start considering um, rotating a lot of the Bitcoin into altcoins to maximize your percentage potential. Now, for me, I don't mind holding alts in or accumulating alts at the bear market low, even though Bitcoin dominance is rising up, because you just don't know. For example, like the Ripple lawsuit. What if they had a settlement and XRP exploded up to $6? I would have missed that opportunity, right? Now, it is a preference, but for me, I'm like, well, we're at the 50%, right? We have this big move down here, all the way down, right? So there's your wave. So if you cut the wave in half, that's usually what I say, right? You come down, you cut the wave in half, you come back up, you retest it. Maybe we get a little bit higher, but eventually it comes back down. I mean, you can see the trend here. I mean, look at this. We're going down, right? This is an impulse wave, and this is a three-wave move, right? We can even get up to the top here, right? This three-wave shape here, right? Kind of like a flat, right? And then you work your way down. This is just an A, B, C. So it could be right, it could be wrong. We'll see. So anyways, it's all your preference, what you think is more sustainable. Obviously, you want to hold some Bitcoin, right? So basically, the idea here for Bitcoin, contingent on that fractal and everything like that, we get back down here. Maybe we do, maybe we don't, but it looks like it's possible. And then we continue. We want a very sharp V-shaped recovery and get out of here, right? Once we get back up here, we start creating this wave to the upside. Then at that point, it could be a 1, 2. All of this is 3, 4, and 5. And that would end the third wave. And then we have a big, long reaccumulation, which would be a fourth wave, right? We would come down for a fourth wave. Then go up for that final fifth wave. So that's the thing. Are we in the fourth wave, or are we in the third of the fourth wave? So, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have an A, B, C, right? So now we're in the third wave. This is usually one of the biggest waves. So if the third wave is finished, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's finished. Then I would expect probably the fourth wave take a little bit more time, right? Maybe a little bit more time, and then work your way up into that fifth wave. Because there's a lot of projections out there that would suggest that the Bitcoin, the crypto bull market, doesn't end until next year, maybe between spring to early fall of next year, which would mean we would have a lot of it. That whole time isn't going to be up, 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 but rather there's going to be a point where there's going to be a lot of consolidation. Because if you look at the current move here, right, this whole thing has been a continuous wave, a wave to the upside. We just had a little bit of a cool off, but this whole thing has been one, big giant wave. Now, if you look over here, right, we had a wave, but we had this big time where we sort of went sideways for a while before ending that thing. So maybe we get another one of these. But if you look at the last cycle, there was a lot of sideways consolidation, right? So you can see the length of time it took in some of these areas. So sideways, sideways. So if I just compare both of the cycles from a time perspective, that's kind of where we're at. Now, I don't think that's where we're at. I think we're more now from a time perspective, yeah, but from a wave perspective, I would have to scrunch the fractal. But before I do that, let me just show you. I think I'm going to put it right here. I think that would be a good idea. You can see, we're a little bit ahead of schedule here. Now you can put it over here, or you can, I'm going to put it right here because that was that first base right in here. Even though it was a lower low, it was still the bottoming process of that base. So you can see we are a little bit ahead of schedule here. So this wave was pretty on track, but then this wave was followed by some sidewaysness, right? And then you can see we're over here, but this correction is over here. So, you know, where are we going to make up that time difference, right? And plus, it's, you know, a bigger market with more liquidity. So you would think it would even take more time. But we're ahead of schedule here, which makes me believe that we're going to make up some of that time eventually. So it could be that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get the fifth wave. And then we have a big sort of ABC where we make up a lot of that time. And then we start to catch up, right? We start to catch up with the fractal here. Or I should say the fractal catching up with us, right? So that's kind of the way I would look at it. Now, the other opportunity or the other idea is to say that this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is done. And now we will have A, B, and a C, a bigger wave, something equaling somewhat to this proportion here, or the length of time, right? Which would then be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the bull market's over, right? So that's one way you can look at it. The other way, right, that would make it over fairly quickly. The other way would be, again, that this third wave is not over yet, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5, and then we get the big correction for the fourth wave, right? And then we go for wave 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the difference is, number one, we get one more wave, and number two, but we have to sacrifice all of that time for that fourth wave correction, which could be very long. It could take a while. So a lot of people can say that this was the fourth wave. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look how long this took in here, right? So the fourth wave over here. Now this by standards was actually moving pretty quickly, right? I mean, we just had 1, 2, another 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we ran up for 3, 4, and then 5. I mean, there's different ways you can count it, but this fourth wave wasn't actually that big. So there is some hope there that we don't have to burn a lot of time, you know, because we wanted to get this thing going. The reason I bring that up is because eventually, right, when you look at, let's go back to, well, let's just take VeChain, for example. You know, I was going to say Theta, but take VeChain, for example. There's going to be a moment in time where we run into that resistance because, you know, VeChain has to get into its retracement levels. So usually, when you get into these retracement levels, you take a bit of time in here to crack through them, right? And then you continue with that final phase. So the question becomes, where is Bitcoin in relation to where we will be when the altcoins are in the retracement levels? So if Bitcoin again is in the fourth of the third, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have one more wave to the upside before getting that big fourth wave. And it doesn't have to be that big, but just as an example. So we would come up, right, into the retracement levels following this fifth wave. Then as Bitcoin stalls out into its big fourth wave correction, that's when Theta, VeChain, all the others get stalled out in their retracement levels. Because when you're in these retracement levels, it does typically take some time. So we would take a little bit of time in here. Now, don't count the date on the bottom down in here. That doesn't. I'm just showing you as a visual representation, but it could be a lot shorter or a lot longer. I think shorter though. So we have 1, 2, all of this is 3. Remember, the third wave isn't done in this idea. We still have 4. We're finishing up wave 4. Then we get 5. Then we go into a big fourth wave. So the whole thing would be 1, 2, all of this is 3. This is 4. And the 4 is where we stall out in the retracement levels. Then we go for that final fifth wave. And that's when Bitcoin, and then that's when the alts make their attempt to get to the all-time high, right? So then Bitcoin goes into distribution, right? Kind of like how it went over here, right? Its fifth wave is done. It goes into distribution. That's when Theta and all the rest of the coins go absolutely, completely berserk. So that's kind of how it could go down, right? That's kind of how it can go down. So hopefully that helped. Now, if we are already in the fourth wave, right? So this is 1, 2, all of this is 3. We're already in the fourth wave. Then you would think it would take a little bit more time. But let's say it didn't and we continued higher, right? We finish this correction when we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We finish out. That would probably put us close to the end of the year, maybe spring of next year. So then Theta gets back up into its retracements, right? And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably when we get to the fourth of the fifth of Bitcoin is usually when we would stall out into the retracements, right? Then we get 4, 5, 4, and then 5. But then once we go into distribution, that's when we break the all-time high, and that's when we go completely insane. Now, this is just speculative. This is just an idea of how it could look, right? Because if you look at, an average altcoin, right? Here's the all-time high. Here's the all-time high. Theta is all the way down here. Bitcoin is already at the all-time high. So it's basically the equivalent of Theta being at $15. So you have to ask yourself, well, which one has more potential, right? And then also, how the heck does Theta get up here if Bitcoin is already almost in its fifth wave? Well, that's the thing. The altcoins move extremely fast. They move very fast when it's time. So there's a couple different ways it can happen. But essentially, once this wave wraps up, we start heading up. That's when we get to the retracement levels. Then we would probably have a bigger correction. That's when the alts would stall out in the retracement levels. Then Bitcoin would continue into its fifth wave. And that's when the alt will make an attempt for the all-time high. Then once Bitcoin is finished with that fifth wave going into distribution, that's when the alts go completely berserk. And that's kind of how I'm seeing it. It could be totally different. It's hard to look that far in advance, just kind of giving some speculation here. But no, if you look at some coins, they're already in the retracement level, like SHIB, right? It already got pretty close into its retracement, so it's flagging out in here. So eventually, it'll probably make its way back up. Unless, of course, this is a rise, crash, retrace, and now we're going into a longer reaccumulation. The way that this would go into a longer reaccumulation, and for other alts that are at this level, is if Bitcoin is now in its fourth wave. So if Bitcoin is in its fourth wave, you would think it would take more time. So what that would look like, right, would be something like this, where we have more of a complex correction. For example, let's say this is 1, 2, and then we come down for 3. Then we get 1, 2, 3, right? Let's say we come all the way down. We didn't touch the bull market support band. So we go back up in 3, and then we come back down in 3, and then we test it. So the whole thing would be 3, 3, 3, which means it's a WXY. We have a 3-wave correction. And that, to me, would signal, okay, it's probably a fourth wave. And then we would go into that fifth wave. So something like this, where we probably get up to that almost maybe 100K area, something like that. And then we start to, play around in here in distribution, maybe make a 3 drives to a high or some type of Wyckoff, and then we start to work our way down. But during this moment is when the altcoins really explode, because that will be the distribution moment, right? So, and then also maybe Bitcoin goes a lot higher. I'm just showing you an example. Maybe it gets to 200K. Maybe it gets to close to 220. But I really think probably between that 90 to 100, 125K. It really depends how it gets worked out in here. I mean, the longer it works out in here, the more of a platform we have to get a bigger impulse, right? So far we only have 3, but it can turn into a triple, right? Or a WXY. So now when I put theta on, or XRP, or really any of them, I just like to use theta as an example because a lot of them look like theta. But let's see here. So here we have theta in this example, right? Let me try to put it on regular here. Okay, so we have the price, right? We pull back 1, 2, 3. So maybe that would mean theta gets up here when we have that retracement, comes back up and then comes back down. Then we start to make our 5-way move. We get back up into the retracement levels for theta. Maybe we chill out a little bit. Then we get more into the distribution. That's when theta really takes off. I'm not sure how that would work in time, but that's just another example of how it could play out. So we'll see. But the main thing I wanted to talk about is, are we getting to be close to finishing here, right? So that's yet to be the case. But let's zoom in and check this out. So if I go check out the 1-hour chart. So when you look at the 1-hour chart, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it appears that it could be finished, right? If we turn on the... And by the way, just look at this real quick. If you see theta is down 2%, you can see XRP isn't down at all. It's flat. But if you look at Bitcoin, it's down almost 5%, 4.5%. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We want Bitcoin to bleed more, alts not to, so that it can get down to its bull market support band. But looking at, let me take this off here. And then looking at the 2-hour, look at the 2-hour chart. We have bullish divergence here, right? Obviously it can be always taken out, but you could see here, look at this. This is what we were talking about in the C wave. We have 1, 2, right? We have 3, 4, and we have 5. And we have divergence between the 4th and the 5th wave. So here's the low, we're going lower. Here's the RSI low, we're going higher. It's not super strong, but it's there. Let's see, the 4-hour chart. We even have it on the 4-hour chart. That's really good, right? Let's see, the 8-hour chart, probably not. But it's okay. The 4-hour chart is good. If I go down to the 1-hour chart, I'm sure it's definitely there. So we can see this very interesting structure here, right? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have an A, right? We came up into a complex B, right? So the B was a complex, or you can even say maybe even a double 3, right? And then we have a C leg. So we have 1, 2. All of this is 3, 4, and 5. So maybe 5 is done, maybe not. But we have 1, 2, 3. Maybe we come down a little bit more. Then we get 4. Then we get 5 of the 5th. And maybe that gets us back down here, right? We could also come back up a little bit, right? Maybe finish this wave down, come back up in 3, and then finish one more time down in here, right? And this would allow the altcoins to further get away from their bull market support band. Now, when you look at something like Total 3, we're already there, so we don't want to go below here. So we have a 1, 2, right? Bitcoin's starting to bleed, right? But if Bitcoin gets a little bit of a bounce, we can get a big bounce. And then Bitcoin finally finishes, right? Let me show you this. Bitcoin comes down, it gets a bounce, and then it finishes, hits the bull market support band. That would be the best thing, right? But during this moment, this bounce, right? We go back to Total 3, and we get a bounce, right? But then we come back down, right? Bitcoin comes all the way back down and test it. But Total 3 doesn't do that. Instead, it does come down, but it doesn't take out the low. Maybe it gets all the way down and has a double bottom, right? Something, down in here where we tested it, we come back up in 3, we come back down, we test it again, we're testing, and then we continue breaking higher. This is all speculation of how we can get there. Again, if you've been following my channel all through here, this is sort of what's been talked about. And it's amazing to see that we're finally in the process of getting it. Now, it doesn't have to get down there, right? I would prefer it, but if you look here, we haven't taken out this wick here, but we did take out this. So we're kind of stuck in that final little area here. So if we break below this 59 and we just have like a liquidity grab, right? Because you got to think, there's a lot of liquidity resting under here, which it tapped into. And there's probably even more resting below here. So all it needed to do is come back up a little bit and then come back down. And then what you have potentially here is some type maybe of, let's see, maybe a diagonal here. So we have 1, 2, we come up for 3, we get 4, and then we finish 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sort of like a falling wedge type of diagonal thing. So we come down, we hit the 5th, right? And then we get the heck out of there. That's the hope. We want to have a V-shaped recovery and get out of here. And then once Bitcoin really gets going, it could then at that moment start to outpace the altcoins. But on the way down, altcoins are starting to reclaim some of their lost support, right? So we have A, B, and a C. And that's really what we want. So that could look like this for Total 3. So now, right, let's see. I mean, even Dogecoin hasn't came down to test it yet. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe we come down for 5, right? What about XRP? I mean, if you look at XRP versus Bitcoin, it's looking really good. I mean, look at that. We have an engulfing 4-hour candle. It's about to finish in 10 minutes. Let's see, on the smaller time frame. Yeah, this is really good. This is exactly what we want to see. Even look at Theta versus Bitcoin. It's up 3%. Let's see if I zoom out a little bit here on the daily. Look at that. Look at that. Theta versus Bitcoin is holding above the bull market support, guys. That's amazing. I haven't even looked at this chart in a while, but that's a good sign. I don't really like the 3-wave shape, though, where we have 1, 2, 3. I really want it to come up into 5, and then it could be a diagonal, right, with a 3-way pullback and then a continuation. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I want to see this area hold. Maybe we come down with a slightly lower low, but other than that, we really want to see it hold. Just looking at some of these altcoins, I mean, we have this A, we have a B, 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then we get 4, and then we get 5. Let's see, QNT. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks, QNT looks like it's finished. A lot of these look like they're finished. Theta versus Ethereum. Look at Theta versus Ethereum. We came up here. We came down. We had 1, 2, 3, 3, right? And then 5. We came down perfectly hit. Look at that. Theta versus Ethereum. We nailed it. And now look, we're impulsing. Or we're engulfing, I should say. So that's good. That's a good thing we got here. So I haven't looked at T-drop. I mean, look at T-drop. It's still holding above its bull market support band. It's looking good. Looking really good for holding support here. So T-drop, we got an A, B, C on the bull market support band. We could have one more low, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Always look out for that. ADA versus BTT took out the low. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All that liquidity, we grabbed it. Maybe we take it up. So render real quick. Render, we did hit again. This is what we've been talking about for several weeks. There's a lot of these assets coming down to their bull market support band. So when I zoom out a little bit more, you know, is it finished? It looks like a weird A, B, and then some sort of ending wave down in here. Some type of interesting wave where we came back, we had a big strong reaction. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 rolls back up to 5, and then we come down and finish 7. Kind of like that 7 wave bottoming theory. Theta Fuel, just kind of, you know, going through a little couple of the coins, trying to see how many waves they got. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We could come down and take out and hit 5 real quick, but we would still be above the bull market support band. Theta Fuel hasn't yet tested it. 1, 2, 3, 4. We could come down for 5 and test it. So, and then Theta Fuel, or Theta itself, 1, 2, I mean, we can have 3, 4, and then maybe one more 5th. Obviously, it could be done now. We have a pretty strong reaction. So it's kind of a wait and see moment. I think we're looking really, really good. XRP, also same thing. I really want to see a hold here. 1, 2. I mean, you could say 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2. All of this is 3, 4, and then we come down for 5. And if we did, it would probably be a slightly lower low. And then you would create that divergence here, right? You would, and then so yeah, it's looking interesting because when you compare it to Bitcoin over the last couple of days, right? You can see the dark chart is Bitcoin. We came up, same thing with XRP, but then look, Bitcoin came back down and took out the low, but XRP basically is just going sideways. That's why you see XRP versus Bitcoin doing very well, right? Because it's holding above, which means if we have a bounce, we can get a bounce. We have come down, make a lower low, but it would just be a higher low for XRP. So I really would like to see it hold above that. Let's see, where did it stop out at? 42 cents, right? 42 cents is a good area to hold. I don't want to see it go below 37. Worst case scenario, 33, but I think it's there. I think it's already there. At least a good spot for accumulation. And also, we have this range here, and we don't want to break below the range. It's good to come down and grab that liquidity. And I mean, you can also say it could be a potential Wyckoff Wyckoffs usually happen at the bottom. But, again, when you zoom out, this is coming down into a Wyckoff, right? So we could have a secondary Wyckoff structure in here. If you look closely, right, we have, look at this, we have from the bottom of this wave, 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3, right? We come all the way down. We come all the way down. We take out this low here. We take out the low, right? We come back up. We come back up without taking out the high. We come back up without taking out the high. And then we go down into a spring. So we come all the way back up, or we come down. We have a counter wave, and we come back down and take out the low. We grab that liquidity just like here. So we want to see it kind of hold support, then continue higher, then kind of go like this, play around in here, just like how it does here, and then take off. And that would be the hope, right, for Wyckoff, right? So something to that effect here. So we will see about that. It could go obviously a little bit lower, but the big thing is, right, we took out this low and we grabbed the liquidity and we came back up. If we start to lose it and we come back down, it could again come down to this area right here, this 36 cent area here. Maybe a bounce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. We come down into a B, right? So it would be A, and then B, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for C. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, A, B, C, right? Yes, it's possible that it's finished now, but that's the thing. You just don't know. We have to wait for Bitcoin, but that should be coming soon. So we'll see. All right, guys, that'll do it for this video. If you made it this far, I really appreciate hit that like button. I really did put more energy into it than usual. So if any video can use a like, it would definitely be this one. At least in the last several weeks, I think this one really hit on all points. I tried to go as quickly as I can to get to the different perspectives, right? And but yeah, let me know in the comment section what you think. If there's any coins you want me to take a look at, drop them in the comment section. Also, what did you think about I might divide it into part 1, part 2. I'm not sure yet, or I'll just probably make it one video. But at the end of the day, I really wanted to emphasize that Bitcoin fractal, those 2 points, and it connecting with the previous cycle, also the flat structure and the ABC structure connecting to that bull market support band, and then also where the altcoins are relative to Bitcoin, because we can see Bitcoin sliding, but if you look at the alts, they're actually, looks like the worst is over, right? Because you see Bitcoin starting to slide, but the alts are still holding their own, which is a good sign of strength coming in from the alts, right? So I think it's a good situation for us to be very close. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section, and if you want to stay up to date with these things, make sure to hit subscribe and turn the notifications on. That way, as soon as I upload that video, you'll know kind of where we are. I'm trying to go into a more attack mode, right? Instead of kind of going off on certain different things, I want to just get straight to the point and then kind of circle back to other relevant things that make the case of that said point. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. And if you guys want to support the channel, you can always do so on the YouTube tip jar. Just use your Google Lens to take a snap pic of that. And that always is very appreciative. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.